Over half of Americans are in danger of being unable to pay for housing, healthcare, or even food during their future retirement. So how can we begin planning and investing for a better future? What's our game plan? I'm Donnie Jones, former professional football player and business owner. In this series, I'm talking with people who are asking these same questions, as well as those who can share practical advice to get us all back on our feet. This is The Game Plan. Today, we're talking about investing, what it is, what it means, and how it can help you build a stronger financial future. Let's head to Los Angeles, California to meet Richard Yoshida. Richard is a jack of many, many trades. He's a construction worker, personal fitness trainer, and also owns a mobile pet grooming business. Through all this hard work, Richard has been slowly building his savings.
When it comes to finances, I take pride in saving. Prices are going up and the rate of pay is not really going up. I really can't get to the next level.
Richard wants his savings to work better for him. He's seeking advice on how to make the most of his financial future. To help Richard get to the next level, I'm introducing him to investment educator Brian Portnoy. Brian began his career navigating the seemingly impenetrable world of Wall Street's biggest hedge funds. Now, Brian is an investment educator and entrepreneur, helping others make better financial decisions about how their money enables a meaningful and fulfilling life.
It's incredibly rewarding to talk to individuals about what it is they're struggling with, because it ends up that everybody really needs a hand.
While the pandemic might keep us in our homes, I'm not going to let this stop us from connecting. I shipped some gear to Richard and Brian so we can safely meet up and lay out a game plan. Richard Yoshida, it's great to meet you.
Hey, good to meet you.
Are you out in California?
Yes, I am. Good old Los Angeles.
How's California treating you, and what keeps you occupied day to day?
I'm a 45-year-old Japanese American from East LA, working my butt off. I try to save everything that I can to go into the pot. I have a good amount of money just sitting there, so I'm really interested in how to invest it. I'm not really sure how, so.
Well, I think that's the most important thing that anybody can do, is to be able to ask for help. And so let's bring in Brian Portnoy. He's a best-selling author and CEO of Shaping Wealth. He's been coaching people for a long time on achieving financial well-being. And so what allowed you to get to that point where you know the things that you know today?
The short answer, trial and error. It's about making mistakes, admitting those mistakes, and then learning from them.
All right, so Brian, we're in your hands.
So we're going on a journey. We all have aspirations and dreams. The key to any journey is knowing where you're starting from, knowing where you want to get, and having some sense of the roadmap in front of you.
So Brian, why don't you take us through the roadmap to long-term financial security?
On our roadmap, the first thing that gets in the way is owing lenders a lot of money, especially when it's at high interest rates. What sort of debt do you have on your personal balance sheet?
Well, hallelujah for that. I am debt-free.
Richard, you're debt-free! Can you believe that Richard is debt-free? That's amazing.
You're not starting with any debt, which gives you an enormous amount of flexibility. You mentioned that you've got a sort of a pool of capital, and what I'm going to encourage you to do is to put aside, say, 3 to 6 months of emergency savings. Life's unpredictable. The roof starts leaking, the car breaks down. The second thing that I would strongly suggest is that you try to come up with a relatively accurate number for the total value of your assets. We're going to be able to use a good amount of that to invest for the very long run so you can underwrite your dreams and aspirations. We're going to introduce this notion of buckets. Every goal is a big bucket that you want to fill. Every bucket is a different size and a different shape. What it takes to pay for your kids' college is a very different type of thing than what it's going to cost you to live in retirement for 20 or 30 years. A bucket-based portfolio means that you're going to tailor your investments to the different things that you want to achieve in life.
Richard, talk to me a little bit about your financial hopes and how you're thinking about the future.
As far as my future goes, I would like to try to invest into a few properties, and I've also been interested in the market. or to buy a business. So with that being said, I'd like to open up a chain of gyms, nutrition related business that caters to elders.
I mean, that's an inspirational goal, Richard. I think that's awesome.
But I can't help others until I could help myself first. So I'd really like to let my money work for me and enjoy a higher quality of life and secure my retirement.
It sounds like you've got two super important medium to long-term goals. Maybe we can think longer term about the right type of investments. Moving your cash money out of a savings account, earning effectively 0%. And in order to grow our capital faster than prices rise, so-called inflation, we actually need to put money into the stock and the bond market in order to achieve those bigger dreams and exceeding price inflation. If you have long-term objectives like Richard's, where retirement is 15 to 20 years in the future, you really should have most, if not all of those assets in diversified offerings. And by diversified, I mean stock and bond mutual funds that hold hundreds of securities. In a sense, you own the entire stock market, which a lot of people will say, that's super boring. Boring is beautiful, Richard, trust me. So by definition, you're gonna have average returns, and that's a good thing. In this case, average is a winning strategy, which isn't to say that there are any guarantees, and also not to say that there aren't gonna be some bumps along the road. Unfortunately, that's part of the game, and it's where psychology kicks in. It's where you have to say, I have a plan, and I'm gonna stick to it.
Brian, I imagine a lot of people think about investing all the time, but they don't know necessarily when to get into the market. How do you determine when it's right to do so?
Timing the market's a fool's errand. So there's no best day. Like every race just starts with you tying your shoes. Today's the right day to tie your shoes because the only thing that's happening to your goals is that they're approaching. Richard, you've got a good size amount of assets. We can begin to think about how you're going to allocate that money into the market. And so on the human side, there are financial advisors who will help you build out a plan and choose the right investments. And then on the technology side, there are online advisors and so-called brokerages that will put your money into a portfolio that's going to grow over time. There's no one right answer. There's the right answer for you in terms of what you're comfortable with. You want to be with a person or a team as well as a technology that fits who you are. But there should be a reasonable expectation that those assets are going to compound to a nice amount over time.
Does that usually come at 5 years? Does that usually come at 10 years, 15 years? Because there's a lot of people that maybe don't believe in compounding interest because they've never seen compounding interest.
I'm going to give you bulletin board material. It's called the Rule of 72. However you get to 72 through two numbers, we're just going to use 8 times 9. If you compound at 8% a year, you are going to double your assets in 9 years. If you're compounding at a pretty good rate, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road, you're going to probably look at your account and say, when did that happen? This is much bigger than I had noticed. If we don't get in the way of compounding, we're going to be able to grow our assets to levels that we might not have thought possible.
Richard, how do you feel after listening to Brian help you with your game plan?
I'm looking forward to kind of like putting Brian's advice into action, try to become fully vested so I could grow.
You've got a lot of information now. You've got a lot of questions that you can possibly ask. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I genuinely believe you're in a wonderful position. Look forward to seeing how things play out.
We all need to become better, and we all need to learn from the experts like Brian Portnoy. So for everybody that's watching, you need to make sure you're ready and in position, first of all, to invest, right? You know, do you have emergency savings and no high interest debt? Pay it down right now. Set your goals, write out your financial goals or your buckets like Brian is talking about. Determine why you're investing and what you're building towards. You know, this will help you identify the best strategy. And then you got to get in there, take action. You're smart enough to invest. The most important thing is that you simply get started. With a game plan for investing, Richard is now on track to begin growing a better financial future for the years ahead.